Deathloop is the newest release from Arcane Studios, the studio behind the amazing games Dishonored and Prey. The game takes place in a futuristic version of what seems like the 1960s, early 1970s, with its aesthetic and music harkening back to those time periods. The game revolves around Colt Vaughn, an amnesiac who soon finds out there might be a lot more to who he is than what the people around him are letting on. He finds out that he is in a Groundhog Day-like loop in the area of Blackreef on its first day, and that the only way to break the loop is to take out 7 visionaries before the end of the day, or you're back to square one. At the same time trying to protect the loop is Juliana, who will constantly try to stop Colt from breaking the loop by invading his loop whenever he goes after any visionary. Her relationship to Colt and the loop are left a mystery, and it's yours to unravel throughout the day. And if you don't succeed and catch yourself at the end of a barrel, well, it's time to die again.
This is Deathloop.
The gameplay to Deathloop is definitely familiar if you played any of the previous titles from Arcane, but to say it's just Dishonored or Prey would be selling itself short. Arcane has done an insanely good job at honing its craft of giving player entire freedom of the map that they are in and the ability to tackle their objectives in very creative, unique ways. The best part about the freedom is the loop mechanic. The story revolves around the mechanic, and its first day gives you a basic straightforward from start to finish. It's up to you, the player, to explore these 4 locations at 4 separate times of the day to uncover intelligence on the visionaries that you're going to be going up against. At first, I thought the mechanic would leave a lot on the table since a lot of the stuff is pretty much well hidden. But since this game gives you so much player freedom and exploration over time in each loop, you learn more and more and start to learn patterns of events that are available at certain times, NPC routes, unique map events limited to doing certain actions on the list, and it goes on. And after 40 hours, I felt like I actually missed a whole bunch. You get into this sort of rhythm we've all seen in those Groundhog Day movies, where the protagonist is somewhat seemingly unstoppable, constantly knowing what's ahead of them because it's almost become routine. And by the end of my first playthrough of the game, I realized that's exactly what the game did. While the loop mechanic is definitely unique and fun, it wouldn't be anything special if you didn't have any exciting combat to go with it. The team at Arcane is known very well for their Dishonored games, and in those it's very stealthy close quarters combat that actually penalizes the player for killing people. So if you wanted to go lethal and use a lot of the cool abilities you've been hoarding throughout the game, you kinda had to miss out on certain endings. This time around they're embracing the chaos they kind of once shied away from, encouraging players to go balls to the wall and traverse the zones any way they see fit. Much like their out of the left field title Prey, Arcane seems like they went a bit out of their comfort zone and this time around focused on something they haven't really tried yet, with a more run and gun like gameplay with different types of weaponry, such as auto shotguns, sniper rifles, hand cannons, and a variety of unique hidden weapons, each feeling like they have a distinct purpose on what situation they'll be used for throughout each fight. On top of different weapon types you'll find throughout the game, each weapon at a certain rarity also has its own special ability, such as shooting toxic gas or being able to slow down NPCs or players. Finding these weapons requires some exploration, and at times you're not really going into a loop to kill a visionary, rather you're going into a loop to find a unique weapon. These weapons can also be upgraded with items called trinkets, which can boost their stats from faster reloads to making your weapon more accurate. Alongside your arsenal are also upgrades you can make to Cole through his slabs and abilities. Slabs are a mysterious power that reside within the visionaries of Blackreef. When you kill a visionary or Juliana, they drop the unique slab or slab upgrade, and then Colt can use those abilities throughout the game. Visionaries, NPCs, and Julianas will also drop abilities, which can give Colt some upgrades from being able to double jump to having more health. Now I know what you're thinking. Wait, if you can find all these weapons and abilities, do you have to get them back every time you restart the loop? Yes and no, but mainly no. Throughout the game there are these objects called Residium deposits. Residium gives you a currency that you can save and use at any time throughout the 4 times throughout the day. At any time throughout the loop, you can infuse these items you collected so that they are with you when you wake up on the next loop. But be warned, if you don't have enough Residium for an item at the end of a loop, it's gone until you can find it again. Luckily, the game gives you 3 lives per loop, and seems to give you another 3 every time you enter a loop, but I haven't really been able to figure out what gives you more lives on certain screens. And that's what makes Deathloop's gameplay unique to me. On top of the exploration of the map, you really have to make some hard choices. Do I fight this visionary, or do I make sure I can keep the sick gun I found and just leave? Am I ready to fight this visionary now, or do I wait till I have a really good ability to make this fight easier? It's up to you, the player, which way you want to go, and you can leave the loop at any time throughout its game's exits. Unless Juliana invades. Juliana will only invade your world when you're in the same map as a visionary, so basically every time you go in for the kill you do have to worry about if you're going to be invaded. When Juliana invades, your exits are blocked and a beacon is placed on the map. Your exits are blocked until you can hack the beacon, but you best believe Juliana will be nearby and ready to stop you from escaping. Juliana can be played by either a bot through single player mode or an actual real life player or friend through online PvP as well. Juliana also only gets one life and she usually shows up at the beginning of a loop, so you can either fight her with all 3 of your lives that you start with or do your objectives while she's roaming around looking for you and stealth your way out. The majority of my playthrough was played with a real life Juliana being present, and while the mechanic is very adrenaline inducing and at times can create some really unique intense moments, I feel like the mechanic at its current state is a bit much. When every single time I enter a visionary area, I was 100% of the time getting a Juliana. This mechanic is definitely really fun and forces the player to re-strategize how they go into maps, knowing that there's more than likely going to be a Juliana after them, even creating guns to counter her. But after fighting her 6 or more times in a row, I can see people getting frustrated. And after many victories and a few losses, I had to turn it off completely just to get myself through the game's story instead of burning out on PvP. Luckily, the AI Juliana is actually kind of smart and challenging, and specifically going after her for the kill can lead to some new guns or upgrades that you may have missed hidden throughout the game. I also have a very limited amount of time playing as Juliana and protecting the loop, but I mostly played as Colt to get through the story for this review. I found it to be a very decent addition to the game and it unlocks a lot of cool cosmetics for the Colt side, but to keep the Colt side fun, I do find that the fights do end up being pretty much one-sided on the Juliana side, since you only get 1 life and Colt can basically just one-shot you with a machete. It forces you as a Juliana player to get creative, but creativity can only get you so far and I don't really have much experience on that side to really say much else, other than what I've observed fighting her as Colt. On top of Juliana being a character you constantly have to fight, she's also the character you have the most interactions with throughout the whole game. Every loop she calls you to either make fun of you, give you a piece of the overarching puzzle, or just straight up try to make you feel bad.
Okay, class, what have you learned today?
Oh, you wanted me to answer?
I want to know if you figured out who you really are.
Oh, that's easy. I'm a drinker, occasionally a drunk, man about island. Everyone knows me, everyone hates me, handy with a gun, quick with a joke. I dress well, and why the fuck is everyone wearing a mask?
You forgot to mention your little Hagama thingy. You'll get there.
It's a heck of a jig. I'm done playing this your way. It's the Cult show from now on.
Okay, all aboard, sweetie. Choo-choo.
I said Cult show, not Cult. Fuck it.
I found the dynamic between Juliana and Colt to be one of the best parts of the game, since Colt will often match the same amount of snark or feeling to the character, and unraveling the mystery with the 2 characters made it so much more engaging when you would do something in the story and Juliana would comment on it on the next loop, leading you to know that you're definitely on the right track. And of course we have the Visionaries of Black Reef themselves. The 7 Visionaries are the bread and butter of this game's story, each having a unique psyche and motive for being on Black Reef. Without spoiling anything, their stories range from being moguls to being straight up sociopaths, and you'll learn more about them through voice recordings, interviews, and even raiding their personal spaces after you assassinate them, leading to weaknesses and faster ways to execute them throughout your loops. I do really like the atmosphere of Deathloop, but I found that the over-reliance on wall of text interviews and voice recordings of the visionaries and characters to be kind of lackluster because really the only time you see them is when you're going to kill them. This creates not a lot of story happening unless you're meticulously reading every single piece of paper you find. It might be the point of the game, but I found it to be damaging to the overall story, and it's very evident in the later hours of the game where the game really doesn't have anything left to tell you, but there's still a lot of gameplay left, leading the ending to feel kind of like it really wasn't worth it. Last but not least are the residents of Black Reef, the Eternalists. They're basically the NPCs that inhabit the map throughout the days, and they don't like Colt whatsoever because he's trying to stop the loop. The NPCs can be kind of not great at times, and almost feel like an afterthought. For example, stealth can be done throughout the game, but the NPCs don't really make it all that fun to do so, almost seemingly having a third eye in some cases. I don't know if this was intentional or not, considering Arcane's previous titles. If I was a betting man, I would say it was done to enhance the chaotic playstyle of the game, and that's where the NPCs truly shine for me. They are smart to a degree. They rush you, they call back up, they group up, and they're pretty formidable in a gunfight. And since they don't attack Juliana, you can see how you can be easily mobbed in a PvP fight as well. But overall, they're basically just cannon fodder, really only offering something to shoot at and at times pretty funny random dialogue. Overall, Deathloop is an insanely rewarding game to players who like exploration and being able to choose how they want to tackle their objectives. The team at Arcane has taken everything they've learned from their previous titles and once again tried something new to them and succeeded in almost every aspect. While I don't think the game is perfect, especially in the ending parts of the game where it feels very rushed and anticlimactic, I do have to praise Arcane for making a game with such a simple premise, engaging and satisfying every time you loop and learn something new. I doubt it is, but I hope this isn't the last time we see of Colt and Deathloop and this loop mechanic. Maybe even possibly having a second day Arcane, please? But I wouldn't be surprised if the talented team at Arcane didn't go the easy route and instead tackles a new genre when we see them again. We at Point in Progress don't have a specific score system for games yet, but I'm going to give Deathloop 4 Julianas out of 5. Thank you for watching the review, like, comment, subscribe, and have a good rest of your day.